Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Tosfos Dibra Maschel, My Taima Yodei Leinayich. Let's begin. My Taima Yodei Leinayich. The Gemara presented a question that Rav asked Rebbe. What's the din if somebody put onto another individual items when they were both standing in Rosh Hashanah, and then the person that had the items placed on him walked out into the Rosh Hashanah and did ha'anacha? Is he chayiv or not? What's the question? Mi amrina nakiris gufei ka'kiris chayvetz dami oiloi. He certainly did the hitzah and the hanacha. The question is, does he have a akira over here? Do we say that when the person started moving his body, he did a akira of his body, it amounts to a akira of the items, so therefore he has an akira for the items, he has the hitzah and the hanacha and he's chayiv, or not? Do we say that when he did a akira of his body, there was an akira of his body? However, on the items that were placed on him, no akira was ever done, and therefore, although it's aser, it's not a chiyuv. So Rebbe answered, chayiv, he is chayiv. In other words, the akira of the body does amount to the akira of the items. And then Rebbe went on to explain that it's not similar to his hand. The person's body is not similar to his hand. My time, what's the reason? A person's body is at rest, his hand's not at rest. That's what Tosfos is going to come to explain. He's going to present one explanation of these words, and then he's going to present explanation of Rashi and say why he disagrees with him. Let's begin. Near the Ri, it seems to the Ri, Kaloshan Achel, like the other Lashon that there is, the Garis, that it is Gairis, that Yadei de Basar Gufe Greira Boy Akira. That other Lashon says that of course a person's body is at rest, and so is his hand when they're all in the same Rishus. What Rebbe meant to say when he said Yadei Le Nayach and Gufe Nayach, he's referring to a person's hand that was extended into another Rishus. When a person's hand is extended into another Rishus, then it's not at rest. Why not? Yadei de Basar Gufe Greira, the hand that's dragged after the body, which means it's associated as part of the body, Boy Akira. Since it's associated with the body, it's not going to be considered at rest in the other Rishus. And in order for it to be considered a malacha, it would have to do an akira, an actual akira of the item. It wouldn't be enough for the body, for the hand to bring the item in. There would have to be an actual akira, since the hand is not at rest when it's in another rishus. Gufa le by akira, the body doesn't need akira. So Ri is presenting here the girsa that he feels is correct, and that is that it emphasizes the hand that's dragged after the body, indicating that we're only referring to a hand that's in a different rishus. Only that hand is not at rest. He continues and says, Ulamai the Garas Nami, also according to the Girsa that says Yadei Leinayach, simply the hand's not at rest, which seems to mean it's never at rest. Says Ri, even according to that Girsa, Mefarish Ri explains the Hainu Mishum de Basar Gufagar. This is because it's dragged after the body. In other words, even according to the Girsa that says the hand's not at rest, it's referring specifically to a hand that's extended into another Rishus. So there Tosfos presented his opinion. Tosfos presented the opinion of Ri, that when we say Yadei Leinayach, it's specifically referring to a case where the hand's in another rishus, a different rishus from the body, and the reason is because Yadei Basar Gufei Greiro, the hand is associated with the body, and since they're not on the same rishus, it's not at rest. V'Rashi Pirish, now he presents the Pirish of Rashi, and he'll disagree. And just to point out that many Mefarshim learn that Rashi actually agrees with Ri, but here Tosfos has a different understanding of Rashi. V'Rashi Pirish and Rashi explained, Yadei Leinayach al gabe karka. The hand's not at rest. What does that mean? Al gabe karka, on the ground. Masha, this seems to say, Afilu hu v'yadei v'makam echad. Even if the person's body and his hand are all in one rishus, v'nasan lechaver l'seich yadei, and his fellow placed something into his hand, v'haitzi, and this guy that had it placed in his hand took it out. He did a hitzah, and he put it down. He did the hanacha. Pater is pater, because the hand's not at rest on the ground. It seems that the hand needs to be on the ground. That's the emphasis. Says Tosfos ve'in nira, it doesn't seem that this is correct. Because in any manner that his fellow placed something on him, whether it was on his shoulder, if it was onto his hand, and he carried it out, chayiv is chayiv. How do we know this? It says in our Mishnah, the second case of our Mishnah is that the Ani did ha'itzah. He took something out of the Balabais' hand and he brought it out into the Rishus HaRabim. It says, or if he took something out of the hand of the Balabais, Mitoicha refers to the hand of the Balabais, and he carried it out, chayiv is chayiv. Alma, so what do we see? The item was resting in the hand of the Balabais. We see from here that that's considered resting in the Rishus HaYachid. Alma, we see Anachas Chayvetz B'yad Balabais, the resting of the item in the hand of the Balabais, when him and his hand are in the same Rishus. When he and his hand are in the same rishus, Havi Anach is considered an Anacha. From this that he made chayev, the Ani that removed it from the hand of the Balabais. If a person's hand is never at rest, then when the Ani took something out of the hand of the Balabais and brought it out into the Rishus HaRabim, he wouldn't be chayev, he didn't do a complete malacha, he was lacking an akira from Rishus HaYachid, since it was never munach in Rishus HaYachid for him to do an akira from it. The cave in the Havi Anacha, and since Tosfos says that is considered munach when it's placed in the Baal Habayis' hand, kisha akar gufay im zeh shebiyadei, when a person is oiker his body, he moves his body with something which is in his hand. Well, we showed clearly that the hand is at rest by the Baal Habayis. The same thing applies to the individual who had something placed in his hand, and then he walked out. Kisha akar gufay im zeh shebiyadei, when he was oiker his guf, when he did a gear of his body with the item in his hand, hari oiker mimkei anacha, he was oiker from the place that it was resting, because it was at rest in his hand, like we saw from the Baal Habayis. So to summarize, Tosfos basically presented two ways of understanding why a person's hand is not at rest. One is a person's hand is simply never at rest. Unless it's actually on the ground, it's not at rest. And Tosfos rejects this idea. We see clearly from our Mishnah that a person's hand is at rest, and therefore if the Ani took something out of the hand of the Baal Habayis, it's considered that he did an akira of the item from being at rest in Rishus HaYachid. So a person's hand is at rest when it's in the same rishus as his body. The other way of understanding Yadei Loinayich is a person's hand is not at rest exclusively when it's extended into another rishus. And the reason is because Yadei Basar Gufei Greiro. A person's hand is dragged after his body. It's associated with his body. And if it's in a different rishus from the body, then it's not in a state of rest.